another exciting lesson viewed from the comfort of your home. I am Shalini Sinanan, and this is where I remind you that the Ministry of Education is doing everything within its power to ensure that the curriculum continues, delivery continues from the comfort of your home. Remember too, you can visit learn.moe.gov.tt for all your ECCE, primary and secondary needs, helping students to connect and continue learning whilst at home. Let's go to our lesson. Today we'll be looking at comprehension, analyzing nonfiction. And in the lesson, this first lesson, we'll be answering literal questions. Are you excited? So in this section, we'll be looking at 10 questions from a nonfiction passage. And the questions will be based on 3 thinking processes: literal, inferential, and evaluation or appreciation, as well as vocabulary will be examined in context. So let's look at how the questions will be spread out in the passage. There'll be 10 questions, as I told you. 3 will be literal, 4 will be inferential, and the last 3 will be evaluation or appreciation questions. Remember that all the materials in this presentation can be found in the S.E.A. ELA specimen papers 1 and 2 and the English language arts specimen items for the S.E.A. So all you have to do is visit the school learning management system at learn.moe.gov.tt. Let's look at the first type of questions, which are literal questions. When you're playing a game on your Game Boy or at home on your iPad, there are different levels to your game. And usually the first couple of levels are very, very simple and easy to get through. This kind of explains what literal questions are. Very easy to get through because they ask the student to recall information which is explicitly or clearly or openly stated in the passage and can be answered directly, explicitly from the passage. So literal questions are the easy questions to get through, the first couple levels of your game. So inferential questions, on the other hand, is where when you get through the first couple of levels in your game and you reach an area where there's a challenge. Are you up for challenges? Let's see how good you'll be. The answers are in the text or passage, but they aren't explicitly stated. They aren't clearly stated. You have to make connections, and the connections need to be made in order to determine the answer. You can work out the answers by considering the hints and clues in the passage based on your own knowledge and experience. So this is where your reading skills come in, and how good a reader are you, and how well you understand. Evaluation questions. These are questions that you must think about, and the information is presented for you to think with and write answers based on your own assessment of the nonfiction passage. Your answers must be linked to the passage and based on its details. Then we have appreciation questions. These allow you to provide an answer based on your emotional response and connection with the passage. How you feel about the passage, what you appreciate or do not appreciate about how the author crafted the passage, his or her literary techniques, their forms, styles, and structures which are used in the passage. And here too, your skills in reading are checked out. In today's lesson, we will be looking at identifying supporting details from the text and retrieving information that is stated explicitly. So let's read a nonfiction passage. Remember, nonfiction means writing that deals with real people, things, places, and events. Here's our passage. You can read it silently while I'm reading with you. Water is essential to life. It is part of every living thing and is the most abundant and widely distributed natural resource on Earth. It is used in the home for a variety of purposes, and at the community level, it is used in agriculture, manufacturing, transportation, health, and recreation. Fresh water is obtained from rainfall, streams, rivers, lakes, springs, wells, and dams. Some countries, Dominica for example, obtain their supply of fresh water from surface drainage, such as lakes and rivers. Others, such as Barbados and the Bahamas, get their supply mainly from underground sources and have to dig wells. In Curacao and St. Thomas, the U.S. Virgin Islands, fresh water is obtained mainly from seawater. Factories called desalination plants remove the salt to make the water drinkable. The main problem in many Caribbean countries is a shortage of water. During certain months of the year, low rainfall can seriously reduce the water supply. Poor water distribution is another factor. A further problem affecting the water supply is pollution. This is caused by harmful chemicals and bacteria entering the water supply through the improper disposal of household and industrial waste. Another problem is wastage by consumers. Most Caribbean countries have a central water authority, which is responsible for the water supply to all communities. The authority maintains and seeks to improve the water catchment areas and also the collection, storage, treatment, and delivery of water. In order to provide this service, the authority employs many trained persons for field and office work. It costs a lot of money to bring water to all sections of the community. So here are the literal questions which would have answers that are clearly or explicitly stated in the passage. Name 2 things water is used for at the community level. Identify 2 sources of fresh water mentioned in the passage. How does Barbados obtain its water supply? And what happens at desalination plants? All of these are literal questions. Don't get confused or bombarded with the number of questions. We're going to take one question at a time. The first question, name 2 things water is used for at the community level. Now, when faced with a question, make sure you have your pencil in hand so you can underline keywords and phrases and know exactly what the question is asking you. Name 2 things water is used for at the community level. So here, they're asking you to name 2 things, so you have a number to work with. And water is used for where? At the community level. So what are the words you're looking for? The key phrase there is for community level. And once you find community level, you'll be able to see how many things water is used for there. So you see, you're looking for 2 words, right? How is water used where? At the community level. Where are you going to find your answer? Yes, you have to read the passage. And the more you read the passage, the more you will understand and the better you'll be able to answer your question. Now, in the passage, in lines 2 to 4, it clearly states that water is used in the home for a variety of purposes and at the community level, which is what you're looking for, in agriculture, manufacturing, transportation, health, and recreation. So once you see that, you can underline that part of the passage. Now, are you going to put agriculture, manufacturing, transportation, health, and recreation? No, because the question clearly states they want 2 uses of water at the community level. So in your answer, you are naming 2 things water is used for at the community level, right? It is used in the home for a variety of purposes. We see this in the passage. At the community level, it is used in agriculture, manufacturing, transportation, health, and recreation. So in your answer, you're going to put water is used at the community level, and you're going to use any 2 from agriculture to recreation. All right? Identify 3 sources of fresh water mentioned in the passage. What are they asking you for? Look for 3 sources. So you're working with a number. 3 sources. 3 sources of what? fresh water as mentioned in the passage. So you're looking for fresh water. Where in the passage can we find our answer? In the passage from lines 5 to 6, we see fresh water is obtained from rainfall, streams, rivers, lakes, springs, wells, and dams. So you're underlining this part so you can remember what to answer from where. And you are also going back to your question. All you have to identify is 3 sources. So identifying 3 sources of fresh water mentioned in the passage. And we know that from lines 5 to 6, we have fresh water is obtained from rainfall, streams, rivers, lakes, springs, wells, and dams. So in your answer, you would write fresh water is obtained from, and any 3 from rainfall to dams. Remember, answer only what the question is asking of you. Let's look at this question. How does Barbados obtain its water supply? Where in the passage are we going to find that? That's your first method of thinking, all right? Where are you going to find it in the passage? How does Barbados obtain its water supply? Which country are we looking at? Barbados. Obtain its water supply. From how? Look for obtain or a synonym. So we have to look in the passage, how does Barbados obtain its water supply? What does obtain mean? You know from your vocabulary that obtain means get. In the passage, in lines 7 to 9, we have others, such as Barbados and the Bahamas, get their water supply mainly from underground sources and have to dig wells. So therein lies your answer. It's a literal question found clearly in the passage. And these are what literal questions are. Questions that can be answered straight from the passage. Get their water supply mainly from underground sources and have to dig wells. So instead of obtain, we have the word get in the passage. Others, such as Barbados and the Bahamas, get their supply from underground sources. So the answer, Barbados obtains its water supply from underground sources, found clearly in the passage. Literal questions are very easy. What is the meaning of plants as used in the passage? So this is a vocabulary question. What's the meaning of plants as used in the passage? So we are looking for the meaning of the word plants. Where are we looking for it in the passage? In the passage, we see in line 10, factories called desalination plants remove the salt to make the water drinkable. Factories called desalination plants remove the salt to make the water drinkable. Determine the contextual meaning of words and phrases. Remember, and from a previous lesson in context clues, you would know that clues are hints found within a sentence, line, paragraph, or passage, which help a reader to understand new or unfamiliar words. Context clues are very helpful for learning new words and promote better understanding of what is being read. And remember, the more you read, the more you'll be able to figure out the meaning of words in passages and books that you read. So this is a definition clue. We have to know the meaning of the word plants in the passage. In definition clues, the meaning of the word is explained in the sentence. Helpful hints in the sentence that show word meaning include which means, that is, or in other words, called, use of commas, and dashes. So let's look at an example of a definition clue. Police officers interrogate witnesses, that is, they ask them questions and try to get honest answers. We're looking for the meaning of the word interrogate. Interrogate here means to ask questions. How did we figure that out? In the sentence, we have the comma after that is. So interrogate witnesses, that is, they ask them questions. So we know that interrogate means asking questions, because that is the helpful hint that helps us figure out the meaning of the word. You have to look for clues before and after the new word to try to predict the meaning. So let's go back to our passage to figure out the meaning of the word plants, because in your estimation, plants are green things that grow outside and produce their own food with help from the sun. Factories called desalination plants remove the salt to make the water drinkable. What's the key word in that sentence that's helping you figure out what plants mean? If you figure out called, then you're absolutely right. Called means named. So factories named desalination plants remove the salt to make the water drinkable. So therefore, plants in this sentence means factories. So plants is a multiple meaning word. Let's review. The answers to literal questions can be found right there in the text. And we saw that. Only answer what the question is asking. And look for key words in the question to signal where in the passage you can start searching for the answer. I hope you enjoyed this lesson on literal questions. I hope that you now can answer literal questions easily and clearly. Remember, keep your pencil in hand and your mind sharp as well so that you can read and understand clearly. Looking forward to lesson 2 with you.
Reviewing 10 Things on TTT, the show that will make your life 10 times more enjoyable, airs Wednesdays at 4:15 p.m. and again at 8:30 p.m. with repeats on Saturday. It's 10 Things and it's on TTT.
News happens anytime, anywhere. And when it happens, we are there. We report the news in real time. TTT News. Connect.
Welcome back, and let's go straight into lesson 2, answering inferential questions in comprehension. Remember last time we looked at literal questions from a nonfiction passage, and we know that literal questions ask students to recall information which is explicitly or openly stated in the nonfiction passage. Also, they can be answered directly and explicitly from the passage. Now, inferential questions, as I mentioned before, they're a bit different. The game gets a little more challenging, and this is where you become an even more competent reader because you can comprehend better. Inferential questions, answers are in the text or passage, but here's where it's different. They are not clearly stated. They are not explicitly stated. You have to find connections which need to be made in order to determine the answer. You can work out the answers by considering the hints and clues in the passage based on your own knowledge and experience. So in today's lesson, here's what we'll be looking at. Supporting details and their relationship within the text, which are inferential. Use of pictures, words, definitions, and context clues to infer meanings, and cause and effect relationships in text. Remember, we're looking at a nonfiction passage, which is writing that deals with real people, things, places, and events. So here's our passage once more. For clarity, we read again. Remember to read with me. Water is essential to life. It is part of every living thing and is the most abundant and widely distributed natural resource on Earth. It is used in the home for a variety of purposes, and at the community level, it is used in agriculture, manufacturing, transportation, health, and recreation. Fresh water is obtained from rainfall, streams, rivers, lakes, springs, wells, and dams. Some countries, Dominica for example, obtain their supply of fresh water from surface drainage such as lakes and rivers. Others, such as Barbados and the Bahamas, get their supply mainly from underground sources and have to dig wells. In Curacao and St. Thomas, the U.S. Virgin Islands, fresh water is obtained mainly from seawater. Factories called desalination plants remove the salt to make the water drinkable. The main problem in many Caribbean countries is a shortage of water. During certain months of the year, low rainfall can seriously reduce the water supply. Poor water distribution is another factor. A further problem affecting the water supply is pollution. This is caused by harmful chemicals and bacteria entering the water supply through the improper disposal of household and industrial waste. Another problem is wastage by consumers. Most Caribbean countries have a central water authority, which is responsible for the water supply to all communities. The authority maintains and seeks to improve the water catchment areas and also the collection, storage, treatment, and delivery of water. In order to provide this service, the authority employs many trained persons for field and office work. It costs a lot of money to bring water to all sections of the community. And here are some of the questions we'll be looking at. Inferential questions. What is the meaning of essential in line 1? State one similarity and one difference between the water supplies of Dominica and Curacao. Based on the passage, how can pollution contribute to a shortage of water? And should consumers pay money for the use of water from the Central Water Authority? Give a reason for your answer. Again, don't get confused by the number of questions or if you don't understand. Remember, you're going one question at a time, taking your time, and we always refer back to our passage. So let's look at question number 1. What is the meaning of essential in line 1? So in this question, they're asking us to figure out what is the meaning of that word, essential, right? And they're actually telling us where we're looking for it as well. It's in line 1. So in line 1, we see that water is essential to life. And if we go to read further, because when we're trying to figure out the meaning of a word, we read before and after the word to look for clues. Water is essential to life. It is part of every living thing and is the most abundant and widely distributed natural resource on earth. So the first sentence says water is essential to life, meaning that. Are you thinking about an answer already? Because we are relating water with life. It's part of every living thing and is the most abundant and widely distributed natural resource on earth. Part of everything that is living. All right? So have you figured out what the meaning of the word essential is? Use pictures, words, definitions, and context clues to infer meanings in context. Now remember, context clues are hints found within a passage, line, paragraph, or passage, which helps a reader to understand new or unfamiliar words. Context clues are very helpful for learning new words and promote better understanding of what is being read. So what's the meaning of essential? As I said before, it's essential to life, water, and it's part of every living thing. And it is the most abundant and widely distributed natural resource on earth. So we are comparing water to life. And they're also telling you that it's part of every living thing, most abundant and widely distributed resource on earth. What do you think the word essential means? Have you figured it out as yet? What are the clues? We're comparing water with life, and it's part of every living thing, most abundant and widely distributed natural resource on Earth, a part of every living thing. So therefore it must be, if you use the word important, then you're correct. And things that are important are necessary. So essential means important or necessary. So we've gotten through the first question. The next question. State one similarity and one difference between the water supplies of Dominica and Curacao. Make sure you have your pencil ready to underline what they are asking you for really. One similarity and one difference between the water supplies of Dominica and Curacao. So you're comparing and contrasting. We want one similarity and one thing that is different between two countries. Where you're finding your answer? In the passage. So let's go to the passage where we have the two countries, Dominica and Curacao. Some countries, Dominica for example, obtain their supply of fresh water from surface drainage, such as lakes and rivers. Others, such as Barbados and the Bahamas, get their supply mainly from the underground sources and have to dig wells. In Curacao and St. Thomas, the U.S. Virgin Islands, fresh water is obtained mainly from seawater. So here now is where you're looking for your answer. Remember, you're only comparing two countries. What are they? Dominica and Curacao. So find those names and underline them. You're not dealing with Barbados or Bahamas or St. Thomas. All we're dealing with is Dominica and Curacao. So we underline those two countries. So you found them. What information about them do you need? A similarity and a difference between both. So at Dominica, we see Dominica obtains their water supply of fresh water from surface drainage. And underneath, you will underline Curacao gets their fresh water mainly from seawater. So you've underlined your information. Let's look at the similarities and differences. Let's go back. Are you seeing them already? You've underlined your answer. So let's look at the similarities and differences. You would have found that Dominica and Curacao both use fresh water. And it's in the passage. Dominica obtains fresh water and Curacao obtains fresh water. So that is their similarity. They both use fresh water. We see that Dominica obtains their fresh water from surface drainage. Have you looked at where Curacao obtains its fresh water from? Yes, you're reading it right there in the passage. From seawater. So, although they both use fresh water, one obtains it from surface drainage and the other country obtains it from the sea. So that's the difference. One from surface drainage and one from the sea. We go back to our question. State one similarity and one difference between water supplies of Dominica and Curacao. And remember, we only answer what the question is asking us. So one similarity between the countries is that they both need or use fresh water. And one difference is that Dominica gets its water from surface drainage, while Curacao gets its water from the sea. Let's look at question number 3. Based on the passage, how can pollution contribute to a shortage of water? Remember to have your pencil ready to underline the keywords and know exactly what the question is asking you. Based on the passage, how can pollution contribute to a shortage of water? So what are we looking for in the passage? We're looking for the word pollution, and we're looking for the phrase shortage of water. And we have to find out how, based on the passage, pollution contributes to this shortage of water. So water shortage and pollution was discussed in paragraph 3. So we go to paragraph 3. The main problem in many Caribbean countries is a shortage of water. So we underline that right away. We're looking for how water shortage can be contributed by pollution. So we underline shortage of water. That's important. That's part of the question. During certain months of the year, low rainfall can seriously reduce the water supply. Poor water distribution is another factor. A further problem affecting the water supply is pollution. So you underline. What causes pollution? This is caused by harmful chemicals and bacteria entering the water supply through the improper disposal of household and industrial waste. Another problem is wastage by consumers. So we don't want all of the information, we just want some of the information. The part where pollution is concerned, it's caused by harmful chemicals and bacteria entering the water supply through the improper disposal of household and industrial waste. So underline all the key parts that would be your clues in writing down your answer. Remember, some of your answer will come from previous knowledge. You know some things about pollution as well. And in the passage, you saw where pollution is caused by the improper disposal of household and industrial waste. So we form part of that as well. Based on the passage, how can pollution contribute to a shortage of water? In the passage, we see that pollution is caused by harmful chemicals and bacteria in water, improper disposal of waste. If water is polluted, we know that from our own knowledge that water cannot be used if it's polluted. Therefore, if it cannot be used, then there will be a shortage of water coming to us because of the fact that the water has been polluted. Did you figure that one out? So there's less water available for use, and so there's a water shortage. Just to recap, remember the question asks you, how can pollution contribute to a shortage of water? We found ways in which the shortage of water can be seen in various countries, and they gave us examples of this. And one of the examples was that pollution contributes to water shortage. And it told us ways in which the pollution happened as well. Harmful chemicals and bacteria in the water, improper disposal of waste. And these come together to tell us that water cannot be used because it's polluted. And so we have less water. And so there's a water shortage. So you must make the connections. Based on the passage, how can pollution contribute to a shortage of water? When people dispose of harmful chemicals and bacteria in the water supply, the water becomes unsafe for use. There is therefore less water available for use, and this adds to the shortage of water. Should consumers pay money for the use of water from the Central Water Authority? Give a reason for your answer. So in this question, they're asking you, should consumers pay money for the use of water from the Central Water Authority? Give a reason for your answer. Where are you finding your answer? In the passage. But first, let's look at the question. Should consumers pay money for the use of water? This answer requires us to say a simple yes or no. But if you look at the next part, we see that the question is asking us to give a reason for our answer. So if you say yes, you have to give a proper reason that is detailed in the passage and not some figment of your imagination. And if you say no, you have to give details from the passage to support your answer. And this is how you're getting full marks for that question. The Central Water Authority is discussed in the last paragraph. So let's go to that paragraph. Most Caribbean countries have a Central Water Authority which is responsible for the water supply to all communities. The authority maintains and seeks to improve the water catchment areas and also the collection, storage, treatment, and delivery of water. In order to provide this service, the authority employs many trained persons for field and office work. it costs a lot of money to bring water to all sections of the community. So in this, right away, we're seeing that the Central Water Authority works to get water throughout the country. And you would underline the authority employs many trained persons for field and office work. It costs a lot of money to bring water to all sections of the community. These are clues that will help you figure out your answer, and there are also details that you would be writing to ensure that you support whether you say yes or you say no. Remember, you have to support what you're saying with words directly from the passage. Should consumers pay money for the use of water from the Central Water Authority? Give a reason. So let's say you answered yes. You would have looked at this part of the passage where it says it costs a lot of money to bring water to all sections of the community. So therefore, people should pay for the access of water. So that could be an answer. Yes, the Central Water Authority spends money to get water to consumers, and they should therefore pay for it. What if you'd answered no? Do you think there's relevant information from the passage that could give that answer a correct? Yes? Think about it. In the beginning of the lesson, when we looked at the passage, in the very first paragraph, they detailed for us the importance of water to life on earth. So let's say you'd answered no. Water is essential to life. It's part of every living thing, and it's the most abundant and widely distributed natural resource on earth, meaning it's everywhere. 80% of you, 80% of the earth. Fresh water is obtained from rainfall, streams, rivers, lakes, springs, wells, and dams. So if it's essential to life on earth, shouldn't some greater body ensure that we get it for free? So let's say you answered no. Should consumers pay money for the use of water from the Central Water Authority? Give a reason for your answer. No, we need water to live. If people cannot pay for water, they would suffer. No, water is the most abundant and widely distributed natural resource in the world, and people shouldn't have to pay for it. So no could be a possible answer as well. But you have to remember, you must put supporting details directly from the passage, which would ensure that you answer no in a correct way. Remember, there's no wrong or right answer, but you must be able to explain your answer, and your explanation must come directly from the passage. Also, answer both parts of the question. Simply saying yes or no is an incomplete answer, and you would not get full marks. Let's review. The answers to inferential questions are in the text or passage, but are not explicitly or openly stated. Connections need to be made in order to determine the answer, and you can work out the answers by considering the hints and clues in the passage based on your own knowledge and experience. I hope you understood this one on inferential questions, and we're looking forward to being with you in Lesson 3.
Reviewing 10 Things on TTT, the show that will make your life 10 times more enjoyable, airs Wednesdays at 4:15 p.m. and again at 8:30 p.m. with repeats on Saturday. It's 10 Things and it's on TTT.
Drama, intrigue, joy, and anger. A good character can make you fall in love with them or hate them, fear them or feel for them. As actors, we dig deep to access those emotions when the director says action. We bring characters to life with passion and raw energy because we know the camera does not lie. And for me, seeing the finished product on the big screen makes all the hard work worth it. And that's why I support TTT, because TTT lives for local. And welcome back. My name is Stephen Hadid Jr., and I'm an actor. Support TTT, because TTT lives for local.
chapter, we're doing comprehension, analyzing nonfiction. Here we'll be answering questions which are literal, inferential, and evaluation and/or appreciation questions. In today's lesson, we'll practice answering all forms of question types: literal, inferential, and evaluation or appreciation. Let's read this excerpt from the nonfiction passage entitled Tigers. Tigers are the largest of all cat species. They grow up to 3.5 meters long and weigh as much as 300 kilograms. This makes tigers the third largest land carnivore. The only larger land meat eaters are polar bears and brown bears. Tigers are not only large, they're also fast. They can sprint as fast as 65 kilometers per hour for short distances and leap as far as 9 meters horizontally. This makes for an extremely dangerous pounce. One might not think that such large, fast, and ferocious creatures need help to survive, but they do. The tiger is an endangered species. Whilst reading the passage, you will find lots of information about tigers. And if you're interested in animals, you would really be excited about it as well. And the information would come to you naturally, especially if you are a reader all the time. You always practice your reading. Let's go to our questions. Which two animals are larger than a tiger? From the passage, we read that tigers are the largest of all cat species. They grow up to 3.5 meters long and weigh as much as 300 kilograms. This makes tigers the third largest land carnivore. Which two animals are larger than a tiger? The only larger land meat eaters are polar bears and brown bears. Tigers are not only large, they're also fast. And the passage continues. So right away we see the answer is found explicitly in the passage. Which two animals are larger than a tiger? You found it already. Yep. Polar bears and brown bears. Let's go to another literal question. What phrase means the same as carnivore? Let's look at where carnivore is in the passage. This makes tigers the third largest land carnivore. The only larger land meat eaters are polar bears and brown bears. What is the word or phrase that means the same as carnivore? Are you seeing it in the sentence? Have you read on and found the definition clue? Yes. It is meat eaters. And from your lesson in a previous class, science, more than likely you would know that a carnivore is a meat eater. Let's look at this inferential question. What are two skills of tigers that make them successful predators? Going back to the passage, and you will read as well, tigers are not only large, they're also fast. They can sprint as fast as 65 kilometers per hour for short distances and leap as far as 9 meters horizontally. This makes for an extremely dangerous pounce. One might not think that such large, fast, and ferocious creatures need help to survive, but they do. What are two skills of the tigers that make them a successful predator? I'll give you a moment to look for the answer. Remember, you're looking for two skills that make the tiger a successful predator. So yeah, these are the two skills that make them a successful predator. They can sprint as fast as 65 kilometers per hour, and they can leap or pounce as far as 9 meters. They have a dangerous pounce. Let's look at another inferential question. The meaning of the phrase endangered species as used in the passage. Explain. Some of you might know what the meaning is already, but we'll go back to the passage for you to figure it out. One might not think that such large, fast, and ferocious creatures need help to survive, but they do. The tiger is an endangered species. Remember, when we're trying to figure out the meaning of words, especially words which we are not familiar with, we don't necessarily need to go and thumb through a dictionary. Looking at the passage and looking at the words before and after it could help us figure out the meaning of the word. And looking before, we see that although the tiger is fast and ferocious and large, they need help to survive, meaning that the species could be dying out. Endangered, therefore, could mean that the species of the tiger are at risk of dying out. The tiger population is getting small. So if you answered that in your mind, not knowing what endangered species is, you were absolutely correct. Let's look at an evaluation and appreciation question. This makes for an extremely dangerous pounce. Is this sentence used appropriately? Give a reason for your answer. This makes for an extremely dangerous pounce. And the question asks, from that phrase in the passage, is this sentence used appropriately? And you must give a reason for your answer, whether yes or no. Let's look for it. Tigers are not only large, they're also fast. They can sprint as fast as 65 kilometers per hour for short distances and leap as far as 9 meters horizontally. Now, knowing your math, do you know how far 9 meters is? How long 9 meters is? Yeah, it's a bit of a distance to be able to jump that far to pounce on a prey. This makes for an extremely dangerous pounce, meaning that the prey is 9 meters away, may or may not know that the tiger is around, moving stealthily in the forest. And being able to pounce from 9 meters afar is a dangerous thing. Yes, you can see in your mind the tiger crouching, ready to jump 9 meters to catch its prey. Being able to jump as far as 9 meters makes a tiger's jump very dangerous. Let's review. Remember, for literal questions, we ask students to recall information that is explicitly, clearly, or openly stated in the nonfiction passage. These questions can be answered directly and explicitly from the passage. Remember, for inferential questions, the answers are in the text, but they're not clearly or explicitly stated. You have to make connections. Connections have to be made in order to determine the answer. You can work out the answers by considering the hints and clues in the passage based on your own knowledge and experience. For evaluation questions, you must think about the information presented and write your answers based on your assessment of the non-fiction passage. Your answers must be linked to the passage and based on its details. For appreciation questions, allow you to provide an answer based on your emotional response and connection with the passage, what you appreciate or do not appreciate about how the author crafted the passage using literary techniques, forms, styles, and structures. I really hope you enjoyed this lesson on answering questions using nonfiction, and I hope that your comprehension is that much better. Remember, the only way you can improve your comprehension is if you practice your reading at home. The more you read, the more you'll be able to comprehend. So remember to visit moe.gov.tt for more resources and for this lesson as well. Thanks and have a great day.